Hi everyone, it's Jerry here with our top 6 tips for you when beginning your mentoring as part of the MA Learning and Teaching in the Creative Industries. Now, these are from Diane Eastcott, who's our friend and colleague running the Mentor Development Programme. Let's get started. Number 1, mentoring is a professional development process which should be distinguished from a kind of cosy chat, although it can be relaxed and informal. Hopefully this should be quite obvious. We're not in the business of meeting students for a quick pint down the pub. Mentoring is a deliberate and focused attempt at helping someone get better. We're acting as professional educators and mentors, not friends. Number 2, perhaps in contrast, a relationship of trust and mutual respect is at the heart of the mentoring process. So there's a sort of balance here. Although yes, we are being boundary professionals, we also need to support a kind of professional openness and supportiveness in how we work with our mentees. Yes, this is their learning, but we are the experienced guides who are offering opportunities and advice that will help them shape their learning and ultimately take ownership of it. So the question then is, how are you going to set up that mutual trust and respect? How are you going to model it? Well, number 3 addresses this. We think that time spent clarifying those expectations at the outset, at the beginning of your mentoring, that's the key to success. And this will pay dividends at later stages of your mentoring. Really, we think this one is absolutely key, taking the time to establish how you're both going to be working together. So that first meeting with your mentee is a golden opportunity to set up quite a few strands of your relationship and your professional process. So when and how are you going to be meeting for the support? How are you going to be communicating between those meetings? What's the main focus of this mentoring? Ultimately, yes, this is about developing their subject teaching practice, but perhaps there's also some kind of soft skills or subject expertise that your mentee needs to learn. As they're part of a particular module that you're teaching, how are you going to introduce them to the group? How are they going to be known and seen by your normal students? And what kind of activities might your mentee take on in terms of running discussions, etc., especially the first ones, when they're getting to kind of be visible and working in the room? When are they going to have opportunities to teach and lead a whole class? And what kinds of considerations are you going to take for whether that happens sooner or later in the process? How is your mentee going to get feedback from you? What's that support going to look like? And how are they and you going to discuss any sensitive issues that might arise during the process? Also, what do you expect from them in terms of their engagement in this process, both in terms of their development, but also in terms of them working on your module? Similarly, are you going to invite any feedback from your mentees in terms of your own teaching practice, or maybe feedback about the behaviours of your students? This can be very useful from experience. But, when, how are they going to be doing that? And similarly, how might you be asking questions or discussing these expectations moving forwards? Number 4, active listening and feedback are 2 processes which are absolutely crucial for doing mentoring effectively. I've had wonderfully rich mentoring sessions on both sides of the relationship, actually, where the only thing that the mentor's done is listen and perhaps clarify what they've been hearing. Real active listening, holding a space for someone in your present attentiveness, is quite radical. It's not often that we get those opportunities in our daily lives. And having that space really helps people to open up. The process of being visibly heard and really listened to enables people to go deeper, to consider their own thoughts and feelings and find richer meaning through reflection. I think that often people have the means and the tools to solve their own issues, but can't quite organise their thoughts internally. or maybe need a bit of validation or even compassion to do so. In any case, listening first in the mentoring relationship gives us loads more to work with when we decide to make interventions, ask questions, or offer suggestions. So listening then informs our work, as we can better check our own assumptions about what our mentees are meaning when they say things. Number 5, setting clear ground rules and confidentiality and boundaries is really reassuring for the mentee and helps build that trust that we were talking about earlier. It's important for you to know here, you are not grading your mentee. Yes, this is an essential part of their program. They have to turn up, they have to participate in order to achieve the course, but you're not assessing them. So that means that the space between the two of you can be very supportive, very developmental. So it means that students can mess up, make errors, in a space which allows them to learn from that rather than be penalised for it. I think good learning often involves a lot of safe error, and it's part of your role to help set up, what kinds of opportunities will be too great a risk or not risky enough. But also for you, I think boundaries are important. I think having a confidential space with your mentee means that you'll be less concerned about being watched, being assessed by someone. We all have those feelings when there's someone else in the room watching us teach. So ultimately, I think open conversations are great on both sides, to see and to navigate all these developmental opportunities. And then finally, touching on that, mentoring ultimately can be a tremendously rewarding experience for the mentor, not least for the mentee. Hopefully through this process, you're going to get some great ideas from your mentees to develop your module. You're also going to have, practical hands in the room helping you support your students better. But you might also benefit just from having new eyes in the room. You'll be able to see fresh perspectives on your students and how they're acting, and also get good feedback on your teaching practice. Mentoring, especially in the mentor conversations outside of the classroom, are great for practicing these one-on-one skills of listening, of feedback, which are great for things like tutorials, but ultimately these are useful for all manner of personal and professional relationships. And finally, I think being a mentor is fantastic. It kind of represents this stage of our career when we can look backwards in a way. It's the process of nurturing new creative practitioners and educators, ultimately the people that in the future may even become our colleagues. So that's it for these top tips. I want to wish you all of the best for your first meeting with your mentee. I hope that goes well. We'll look forward to seeing you in your developmental workshops. Take care.